Ever notice how some people get nervous around you? Even though you've never done anything wrong? They call you dangerous. They say you're too much. But here's the truth they won't tell you. When they say you're dangerous, what they really mean is, they can't control you. And that scares them more than anything else in this world. If you've ever been labeled this way, keep watching. Because what I'm about to show you will change everything. Here's what nobody tells you about being called dangerous. It's not an insult, it's a compliment wrapped in fear. Because the people who call you dangerous, they're the ones who need everyone around them to be small, predictable, and easy to control. And you're none of those things. Think about this for a second. When was the last time someone got uncomfortable around your confidence? Maybe at a family dinner, maybe at work. You didn't yell, you didn't fight, you just existed in your power. And suddenly, the whole room shifted. That's not an accident. That's you being dangerous in the best possible way. Let me break down exactly what you're doing that makes people so uncomfortable. And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to want to do these things even more. 1. You don't explain yourself to everyone. Picture this. You make a decision, a big one. Maybe you quit your job. Maybe you move to a new city. Maybe you ended a friendship that wasn't serving you anymore. And people, they want answers. They want reasons. They want a full explanation with footnotes and references. But you just smile and say, it was time. That's it. No long story, no justification, no begging them to understand. And that drives them absolutely crazy. Because in their world, everyone needs permission. Everyone needs approval. Everyone needs to defend their choices like they're on trial. But you've figured out something they haven't. Your life is yours, your choices are yours, and you don't owe anyone a PowerPoint presentation about why you did what you did. When my cousin asked me why I turned down a perfectly good job offer, I just said, it wasn't right for me. She spent the next hour trying to convince me I was wrong. But I didn't argue. I didn't defend. I just kept living my life. 2 years later, she admitted I made the right call. But here's the thing. I didn't need her to admit that. I already knew. 2. You're okay with people being mad at you. Most people would rather set themselves on fire than have someone upset with them. They'll say yes when they mean no. They'll show up to events they hate. They'll lend money they can't afford to lose. All because they're terrified of someone being angry. But you've made peace with disappointing people. Not because you're mean, not because you don't care, but because you understand something powerful. Someone else's anger is not your emergency. Let me paint you a picture. Your friend calls. 4th time this month, they need to borrow money again. Last time, they never paid you back. The time before that, same story. Old you would have said yes and stressed about rent. Dangerous you say, I can't help you this time. And then, silence. They get upset. They might even stop talking to you for a while. And you know what you do? You sleep just fine that night. Because you've learned that protecting your peace is more important than protecting everyone's feelings. The right people will respect your boundaries. The wrong people will make you feel guilty for having them. And that's how you know who belongs in your life. 3. You don't need to win every argument. Someone at work says something completely wrong in a meeting, like totally, embarrassingly wrong. You know the real answer. You have the facts. You could destroy their argument in 30 seconds. But instead, you just let it go. Not because you're scared, not because you don't know better, but because you've realized something that most people never learn. Not every battle deserves your energy. Some arguments aren't worth winning. Some people aren't trying to learn the truth. They're just trying to be right. And when you spot that, you just smile and move on. I watched this happen last month. Someone was confidently wrong about something I literally have a degree in. 5 years ago, I would have jumped in with facts and sources and proof. Now, I just nodded and changed the subject. Because here's what I know. Arguing with someone who isn't listening is like watering a plastic plant. Completely pointless. You save your energy for things that actually matter. For conversations with people who actually want to grow. That's not being weak. That's being wise. And it confuses people who think every disagreement needs to be a war. 4. You make people uncomfortable with your growth. Here's where it gets really interesting. You start improving yourself. Hit the gym, read more books, learn a new skill, get better at your job, save more money, and suddenly, people get weird. They make jokes. Oh, look who thinks they're better than us now. They try to drag you back down. Remember when you used to be fun? They might even get angry. You've changed. And they're right. You have changed. You've evolved. You've outgrown the version of yourself that made them comfortable, and that terrifies them. Because your growth is a mirror. It shows them what they could be doing but aren't. It highlights their excuses. It proves that change is possible. And most people would rather hate you for succeeding than be inspired by you. Last year, I started waking up at 5 a.m. to work on my goals. A friend said, "That's extreme. You're becoming obsessed. Your discipline makes me feel bad about sleeping until noon." But I didn't slow down to make them comfortable. I kept going. And you know what happened? Some people fell away. But the ones who stayed, they started growing too. Your growth gives others permission to grow. But first, it makes the stagnant ones angry. 5. You don't perform your pain for sympathy. Something bad happens. A breakup, a job loss, a betrayal, and people expect you to fall apart publicly. Post the sad quotes. Change your profile picture to black. Make everyone aware of your suffering. But you don't do that. You feel the pain, deeply. You process it. You cry if you need to, but you do it privately. You don't turn your trauma into a performance. You don't collect sympathy like it's a currency. You heal in silence and come back stronger. This makes people uncomfortable because we live in a world where pain is content, where suffering gets likes, where breaking down publicly is seen as being real, and healing privately is seen as being cold. But you've figured out that true strength isn't about showing everyone your wounds. It's about bandaging them yourself and walking forward. When my relationship ended, people expected daily updates, expected me to trash my ex online, expected a breakdown. Instead, I went quiet for 2 weeks, worked on myself, processed everything privately. When I came back, I was better, stronger, and people didn't know what to do with that. Some even got mad that I didn't let them in on my pain, but my healing was never their entertainment. 6. You trust your gut over everyone's opinions. Everyone has advice. Your parents have a plan for your life. Your friends have opinions about your relationships. Society has rules about what you should do by what age. And they all think they know better than you. But you've learned to tune out the noise and listen to that quiet voice inside. That voice that says, "This job isn't right, even though it pays well." That voice that says, "This person isn't safe, even though they're charming." That voice that says, "Take the risk, even though everyone says it's crazy." Most people ignore that voice because they're afraid of being wrong. But you've learned that the only time you're truly wrong is when you betray yourself to please others. Your intuition has kept you safe more times than logic ever could. And that makes you dangerous, because you can't be talked out of what your soul knows is true. 3 years ago, everyone told me to take a job offer. Great pay, great benefits, great company. On paper, it was perfect. But something in my gut screamed, no. I couldn't explain it, I just knew. So I turned it down. 6 months later, that entire division got laid off. My gut knew what my brain couldn't see. Now, when I feel that inner no, I don't question it. I honor it. 7. You've stopped trying to save people. This one hits different. Because there was a time when you thought love meant fixing people. You dated people with potential instead of people with progress. You stayed in friendships that drained you because they need me. You gave and gave and gave, thinking that's what good people do. But then you learned the hardest lesson. You can't save someone who doesn't want to save themselves. You can't love someone into healing. You can't care more about their life than they do. And trying to do so doesn't make you a hero. It makes you exhausted. So you stopped. You stopped being the free therapist, stopped making excuses for bad behavior, stopped lighting yourself on fire to keep others warm. And when you did, some people called you selfish, called you cold, called you dangerous. Because a world that profits from your self-sacrifice will always make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. But you did it anyway. And now, you only invest in people who invest in themselves. That's not being mean, that's having standards. 8. You're comfortable in the silence. Awkward pause in conversation? Everyone else is scrambling to fill it. But not you. You just sit there, comfortable, present, unbothered. And that silence? It makes people reveal themselves. They start talking just to avoid the quiet. They confess things. They show their cards. They expose their discomfort. Meanwhile, you're just there, calm, collected, observing. You've learned that silence is a superpower. It creates space. It demands honesty. It separates the real from the fake. Because people who are comfortable with themselves can sit in silence. People who aren't will do anything to escape it. I was in a negotiation last year, made my offer, then stopped talking. The other person got so uncomfortable in the silence that they talked themselves down to a better deal for me. I didn't have to say another word. Silence did the work. Most people fear the quiet. You've learned to weaponize it. 9. You don't celebrate too early. You're working on something big, a business, a degree, a creative project, a personal goal, and you're making progress, real progress. But you're not posting about it, not telling everyone, not celebrating each tiny step like it's the finish line. You're moving in silence because you know that dreams announced too early often die from the opinions of others. You know that sharing your plans invites advice you didn't ask for, doubt you don't need, and attention that can derail your focus. So, you work quietly. You build privately. And only when it's done, when it's real, when it's undeniable, that's when people find out. And by then, they can't stop you. They can't doubt you. They can only watch. Started my business 2 years ago. Didn't tell a soul for the first 6 months. Just worked, tested, failed, learned, grew. When I finally mentioned it, I already had clients, already had proof. Nobody could tell me it wouldn't work because it already was working. That's the power of silence. It protects your vision until it's strong enough to withstand the world. 10. You've mastered the art of walking away. Toxic job? Bad relationship? Disrespectful friend? Draining situation? You leave. And you do it without drama, without a big announcement, without burning bridges just to feel the heat. You simply exit quietly, firmly, permanently. Because you've learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Your absence is the message. Your peace is the priority. And you don't need closure from people who never gave you honesty. Most people stay in situations that hurt them because leaving feels scary. But you? You've made peace with endings. You know that every door you close makes room for better ones to open. And you trust yourself enough to walk through the dark until you find the light. Left a job once with 2 weeks' notice. Didn't badmouth anyone. Didn't explain beyond pursuing other opportunities. Some coworkers were shocked. But I knew that job was draining my soul. 3 months later, I was happier, healthier, and making more money. Walking away wasn't giving up. It was leveling up. 11. You're building a life they can't comprehend. And this is the final piece, the one that ties it all together. You're not just doing things differently. You're living in a completely different reality than most people. While they're chasing approval, you're chasing purpose. While they're performing for likes, you're building in private. While they're stuck in drama, you're focused on growth. Your life isn't perfect. You still struggle, still have bad days, still make mistakes. But the difference is, you're intentional about your path. You're choosing your heart. You're building something real instead of something that looks good. And that's what makes you truly dangerous. Not that you're better than anyone, but that you're so committed to your own path that their opinions can't touch you. Their doubts can't slow you. Their fear can't stop you. You're dangerous because you're free. Free from the need to fit in. Free from the fear of standing out. Free from the cage that most people don't even realize they're in. So if people call you dangerous, wear it like a crown. Because what they're really saying is, I can't control you. I can't predict you. I can't put you in a box. And that's exactly where you want to be. Uncontrollable. Unpredictable. Unboxable. You're not dangerous because you're destructive. You're dangerous because you're awake in a world that profits from people staying asleep. You're dangerous because you've chosen yourself in a world that teaches self-abandonment. You're dangerous because you're real in a world full of performances. If this hit home, drop a comment and tell me which point resonated most. Was it learning to walk away? Was it protecting your energy? Let me know.